have lived through the rock bottom, Dr. Kelly. Homelessness, addiction, loss. What was the turning point for you?
I had a spiritual awakening. First of all, I realized that I was crying one evening. It wasn't because I'd lost my children or my house or wife. It was because I realized that I couldn't stop drinking. I had 7 suicide attempts, and on 2 occasions, I actually died on the street. So the hypothalamus in the brain is survival part of the brain. It tells us we need to eat food, drink water to survive. I'm just pinpointing right down to one of the jobs it does. What we found it is learned behavior and enmeshment. So patterns from childhood, especially with drug addiction, that we repeat time and time again. That's called the basal ganglia. It's how repetition strengthens, confirms part of the mind.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to In the Making, where we don't just tell stories, we uncover the raw, unapologetic truths that fuel real transformation. Today, I'm sitting down with Dr. Robb Kelly, a man who's lived through the dark underbelly of addiction, survived homelessness, and come out the other side as a powerhouse in addiction recovery. Known as the Gordon Ramsay of addiction treatment, Dr. Kelly has transformed countless lives, helping people not only to recover from addiction, but to rewire their brains and reclaim their lives. If you think you've heard it all, think again. This episode is going to hit you hard because this is where real recovery starts. Dr. Kelly, thank you so much for taking out your time and being with us today.
It's my pleasure completely.
You've said the problem isn't our drinking, it's our thinking. Can you explain the psychological roots of addiction and how reframing our mindset can lead to a lasting recovery?
Well, a lot of people think alcoholism, and it's all addictions, but I'll just say alcoholism for the sake of it, is about the alcohol, and it's not. Alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, and the same with any other addiction. So when I went through my difficulties, where I'd lost my wife, my children, houses, cars, everything, and become homeless, I just knew there was something else than people were telling me. So after I got off the streets, the more we researched about subconscious, conscious, and brain, central nervous system, and behavior, the more we realized that we really can reprogram brains. Whether you are an addict who's suffering or whether you're an entrepreneur that wants to take you and your business to the next level, we can help do that by just rearranging, rediverting, remapping the brain for success instead of self-sabotage, which is the failure part of our side.
Wow, I love that. We often think of addiction as purely physical, but that's more powerful when we address the mind, the battlefield where the real war is raged. You had an incredible moment where the mere sight of a vodka bottle calmed your shaking hands. Can you dive into the neuroscience of addiction and why the promise of alcohol can bring relief even before consumption?
Alcohol relief is a programmed hypothalamus in the brain. So alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made. Alcoholics are born with a predisposition. 3 parts of the brain differ than any other human brain: hypothalamus, basal ganglia, and the amygdala. So what happens is when I take my first drink, it's downhill because it's hereditary. It's a predisposition passed down from generations. So we look at the behavior around that itself. We've got to pull away from the alcohol idea and look at the parts of the brain that are reacting different to others, and we call it self-sabotage. Why do I keep self-sabotaging over a period of time? Whatever it is, alcohol, drugs, actions, behavior, depression. uh, we found it is learned behavior and enmeshment. So patterns from childhood, especially with drug addiction, that we repeat time and time again. That's called the basal ganglia. It's how repetition strengthens, confirms part of the mind. We look at the childhood trauma, but it is subconscious. So the patient is not aware that this is going wrong. So you have to uncover, discover, discard of what's going on with that patient. But everybody can recover. Everybody has the chance to be whoever they want to be. The mind is very powerful. And in some circumstances, the mind doesn't know the difference between the truth and the false. So if it is false belief that you want to be a billionaire, let's say, well, if you believe in those reprogrammed brains, you will become a billionaire. And that sounds real simple. It isn't, of course, but everybody can. And they don't believe they can. Everyone thinks that if you run a business, I do $250,000 a year, I'm proud of my business. My question to you is, why aren't you doing $1 million a year? It's just a question. Why aren't you? Then nobody can give an answer, and the answer is here. and so the prefrontal cortex and the rest of the brain we talk about.
Wow, that's a very powerful metaphor, Dr. Kelly. Not needing the drink itself, but the promise of relief. I think it's like the mind and body are wired for that escape. So many so many people think that addiction only happens to certain type of people. You were a successful musician and scholar. How did your own life debunk that myth? And what would you tell those people who still hold on to it?
We've got to look at the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus in the brain is the survival part of the brain. It tells us we need to eat food, drink water to survive. I'm just pinpointing right down to one of the jobs it does. So from birth, babies know they need to eat food, hands down the mouth, or they cry because their body needs food and water. And as we grow up, it becomes a working part of the mind. With an alcoholic, during the drinking career, the hypothalamus switches on the alcoholic and it tells the alcohol drink alcohol only. That's
Mhm.
why I could go days or weeks without food or water, because my survival part of the brain is telling me if I don't drink alcohol, I will die. So what people don't understand is when we get to that point, our choices are taken away from us. When the survival part of the brain is telling us to drink, telling us to self-sabotage, then we have no choice. So the hypothalamus needs to be changed before anything can happen.
Wow, that's incredible information, Dr. Kelly. I'm so glad you shared. Your story shows us addiction doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care about your success and success of stature. It can touch anyone at any time. Let's move on and talk a little more about trauma, PTSD, and healing. PTSD and trauma are often the underlying causes of addiction. Many, the drinking or drug use is just an escape. Or what are some of the hidden traumas you've seen in high functioning addicts that the rest of us might just overlook?
We have to realize that everybody has childhood trauma. Alcoholics and addicts, depressed people, they're more sensitive to what people tell us. So we hear things slightly different. With that kind of trauma, it makes us do all sorts of stuff because it's a repatterning from birth. Say the girl, 6, 7, 8, 9, grows up in a household where father comes home 3 or 4 times a week, drunk, and ends up with a fist fight with mom, then that learned behavior becomes real. So with that normalcy in that family unit, she attracts what she thinks she is worth. So if dad comes home most nights and beats mom, her worth as a child is zero because there's no validation of anything she does. So we grow up with that. So by looking at the trauma, looking at the PTSD and knowing quite well that A, you can recover from it, but B, how far is the trauma? What does trauma mean to a normal human being? It's a car crash, it's a plane crash, it's a divorce. But there are certain traumas that you will never get over, like a caregiver saying, "Well, you're a piece of crap. You'll never do anything. You can't do that. You're too stupid." I got told I was too stupid loads of times by my caregivers. Well, that too stupid sits in my subconscious brain and will reprogram and define my future because I won't take them chances to date that girl, start that business, because at the back of my mind, the 1% back here is telling me I'm a waste of time because my father told me that. So it must be true. So 99 people tell you're amazing. One person said you're not amazing. You'll contact with that one person, and that's what will rule your thought pattern for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's like validating it, right? Especially for
Yes.
the kids while growing up. I have done that where I used a word, I had the realization. He looked at me in a different way. I had to remember kids never forget anything. But since that day, I've never used that word because consciously I was alert and my parents have never done that to me. Trauma that can be transferred through where you come from or where you were born and the upbringing you had. I always tell when I'm counseling people when you step inside your house, take a moment to breathe. Think of the negative energies you can transfer out in the outside world, in your plants, in your pots, and then step inside your house with a positive mind. Clear your mindset. Just focus on what energy you're bringing inside the house. And you have lived through the rock bottom, Dr. Kelly, homelessness, addiction, loss. What was the turning point for you on the cold streets of Manchester that sparked your spiritual awakening?
Well, I got a spiritual awakening. First of all, I realized that I was crying one evening. It wasn't because I've lost my children or my house or wife. It was because I realized I couldn't stop drinking. I had seven suicide attempts, and on two occasions I actually died on the street. So when you've been through that, going forward, everything else is like, why wouldn't you take a chance to do this? I have five businesses. Two of them, people told me I was crazy, it never worked. What have I got to lose? I died twice on the streets in Manchester. I'm going to do it. I don't care. And to become successful because I'm not fearful. That was a pivotal moment for me. But the biggest moment was realizing how how many people I'd hurt, how many people I'd lost. My children still have therapy today. So I've not seen my children for 30 years. Six at this one, I'm going to tell you now. Well, 26 years later, which is about 4 years ago, my daughter contacted me after all that time in England. She sent me a message on Facebook and said, Dad, I want to see you. I've got something to show you. And I don't believe everything that Mum was telling us. So we flew over there. We knocked on the door. She opened the door. We hugged. We cried. And then she walked me into her living room and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter. It was right there, and I realized what life is all about. No matter how much the money kept coming, the biggest and latest cars, the most expensive watches and houses, I was still sad. And what made me turn around was after 30 years of being in this industry, is that moment with my daughter, is that made me realize that money doesn't mean anything. Now, I've been rich and I've been poor, don't get me wrong. And I choose rich every time, but it won't buy you happiness. So she's now my lead therapist in my Manchester office. I have 5 offices around the world. And 4 weeks ago, my youngest daughter got in contact with me after 30 years. And we're reuniting that relationship. Every depressive person is a genius. PTSD. Once we clear our mind of that stuff, we can do anything we want in the world. And then we go into the neuroscience of attracting what we think we are worth as opposed to attracting what we know we are worth. I get counselors all the time and doctors. Dr. Rob, I'm thinking of opening practice. How much should I charge an hour? My answer is always the same. How much are you worth? And it really freaks people out. Well, how much do you charge now? I charge $1,500 an hour. God, that's insane. With a 98% success rate and 9,000 patients under my belt, I'm here at that point. 25% of our work is pro bono. We always giving back, but I know my worth. And it's the same with other people. There's two things that especially women fail when they come out of marriages. First of all, we stay in marriages way too long. We stay in jobs way too long than we should. So what happens with a woman coming out of a marriage? She's lost her identity to her husband. And when it splits up, you've got nothing. Alcoholic or not, you've got nothing, and you have to start building. Fear isn't real. If you find I'm fearful of speaking, but as soon as I walk on stage and step on the stage, the fear's gone and I'm excited. It's not real. It's just a preconception of what you think the future's going to look like and that you're not prepared for it. We're never prepared for having a child. You're never going to be ready to start a business, start an empire. So do it now. People doesn't realize that we don't have time to wait. We don't have time to say, I'll do it tomorrow. We don't have time because how many times, mums, have you told people, 1 minute I'm waving off to kindergarten, next minute I'm waving them up? What did those 16 years in a flash? So on people who want to break away from the norm, take the chance and do it now. We have a 7.3 second golden rule in our company. And that is, if you have a thought pattern to do something, you have to move towards that in 7.3 seconds.
Wow, that was incredible, Dr. Kelly. Firstly, congratulations on reunited with your family. That means the world. And you mentioned a very important topic that money is really important in today's life, but when it comes to your health, when it comes to your family, when it comes to the people around you, it just cannot overpower the emotions and the feelings and the love that you carry with you. And it's the foundation for something so much more greater. You have proved that time and again that being at a position in your life is temporary. You can find something more permanent if you work towards your goals and dreams. And I am extremely inspired at the moment. You have worked with celebrities, high powered individuals. How do they handle, or more often, the emotional scars that lead them to addiction? And how do you help them break free from their pain?
Well, high profile celebrities have always got to smile for the camera. They've always got to be on. Robin Williams, for instance, he ended up committing suicide, but nobody saw it. So when you're in the public eye, you have to put this mask on. That's your job. And nobody really sees. The saddest people in the world that I found are comedians. When they go on stage, they make everyone laugh, they come off and they've got nothing. We have another rule, and I find out 20 years ago that we're not going to pamper celebrities. You either do as I tell you to do, or we fire you. You go home. We don't care. But if you do, then I'm going to fix you. And we treat them like we treat everybody else. And you find that they have all the problems that we all have, just that they've had people around them to mask it to make sure nobody finds out. We've worked with high profile, we've worked with government, we've worked with all these people that can't be seen in a treatment center or meetings, and they're all just as broken. The fundamental human need validation and
Yeah.
approval. Yeah. Why don't we start validating and approving and complimenting people every single day? 63 years old, I can tell you this. Most people are going through stuff that you will never know about. There's a guy, I often tell this story, and he walked to the Golden Gate Bridge and he threw himself off and committed suicide. When the police pulled him out of the water, they found his ID. They went back to his apartment looking for the next of kin, and what they found was a letter on the kitchen table. And it read, I'm going to walk to the Golden Gate Bridge, which was an hour, by the way. I'm going to walk to the Golden Gate Bridge and throw myself off and commit suicide unless on the way there, somebody smiles at me, says good morning, or waves at me. I will stop and I will turn back and try again. So my question to your viewers and listeners is, how many people have you walked past today that's heading to the Golden Gate Bridge? You just don't know. So that smile, that wave, if you want an experiment, do this. Next time you're in a beat, look for somebody walking towards you with nice sneakers. And I want you to say two words, nice sneakers. And he'll go, oh, thank you, man. Then turn around and watch him walk away. He's going to look down at his sneakers at least 2 to 3 times. Night when he goes on to his wife or his girlfriend, because he's in a good mood, she's in a good mood. The transference and mirroring part of the brain, you've just changed 6 to 12 people's life with 2 words. Nice sneakers. And that's what we need more of. Stop passing people thinking that they're good. Everyone's going through something that keeps them awake at night time that will take to the grave with them. And I've had enough of that. We've got to start reaching out and loving people.
Yeah, that is powerful. I realized that, Dr. Kelly, when I moved to America 17 years back, I live in Seattle, Washington, where it's dark and gloomy. People are friendly, but I that was the first thing I told my husband. Why aren't people smiling at each other? It's very important being kind to each other, having empathy towards each other. Nobody knows what are the battles behind the closed door away from these flashing lights.
We found we test everything and everybody about behavior and stuff. But when you get in an elevator in England, if it was rainy and gloomy, which it was most of the time, people would get on with the coffee and the head down. But when it was sunshiny, people would get on and, hey, good morning. So people
Yeah,
react differently. So if you're in an area that's dark and gloomy, be the sunshine. Be the
exactly. Yes,
sunshine. That's
I
why
love
I dress crazy. I wear stupid stuff. Usually I'm wearing a pink t-shirt with a yellow. It's a turning point. A lot of people do suffer from light deprivation and they don't know it. I have one of these huge sun things that sends off the rays as if I'm in the sun. It's not a sunlight, it's a medical equipment piece. And it keeps me happy. Otherwise it's there's 4 chemicals every day that needs to happen. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, okay?
it.
2 of them need sunlight. Okay. So if you don't get the sunlight, 2 of them are going to be missing. So there's 4 chemicals. 2 of them are created in the gut, dopamine, serotonin. So if you're not eating right, if you're not feeling good about yourself and doing your work, the dopamine and serotonin are going to be missing. You're never going to be 100% happy. So you have to realize what gives us pleasure when all the other noise around us goes. And this is what entrepreneurs do that really know what's going on is they concentrate on what they want and they cut out the noise around them. You've got a laser focus and don't get anybody pulling you away because they will. There's always one person around you that wants you to fail. And it's usually family. If it's not, it's a close friend that want you to feel. God bless them. I don't think they do it on purpose. But once you start to rise through the ranks, once you pull away from this cesspit where I come from, eventually, people don't want to let you go. Concentrate on that, what you want for you and your family, and what I want to spread the word, spread the love. We give back $150,000 every year back into communities out of my bank account. Okay. Now we just started the Robb Kelly Foundation, but my bank account I give back. I monetarily bless people whenever I leave the house because I'm blessed enough to have it. I give my time freely wherever I can. You have to be careful about that because most people will take and never give back. The boundaries that you set around yourself are very, very important for everything that you do. It's like if my friend calls me up tonight at 10 o'clock. Hey, Rob, listen, I've booked a taxi for like 5 a.m. It's just cancelled on me. I've tried to get a taxi. Hey, I'll come and pick you up, Johnny. Don't worry. Rob, thank you so much. Oh, man. So I goes to pick him up, but I'm running late for some unknown reason. There's a car crash or something. I pick him up. We're getting to the airport. We're late. He misses the plane. Who does he blame? He blames me. The guy that was trying to do good for the guy that was going to try and be a hero to him. He blames me. You see, so who's to blame overall? Well, it's me because I didn't set my boundary. He's like, yeah, I'm not getting up at 4 o'clock because I was sick of getting blamed for stuff that I volunteered. And the other thing is, you've got to watch for these people around you that act like a victim in a problem they created. There's hundreds,
Mm.
thousands around us. Act like if you caused this. What's going on? You caused this huge argument. Now you're acting like a victim. You've got to shut that noise off.
Wow, that was very important lessons. If you've missed
Yes.
that, go back and hear it all over again. You've gone from homeless to healing, from playing with legends to becoming a legend in the recovery world. What does Dr. Kelly's success look like to you now? And you already mentioned a little bit about giving back to the community and, having those boundaries. Is there something that you would like to share?
Well, I will never retire. I know that. I have too much fun, and I have five businesses and a restaurant right next to my offices. It's a British food restaurant. My sister and brother-in-law run that, and I go over there, chat to people, and then I have two security businesses and three conference businesses that go. So just constantly looking after myself. I just had a cancer scare. They thought I had cancer of the prostate, and I kept positive. We waited 3 weeks, and we got the result. It's clear, it's nil. But it just kind of give you that little tiny edge look on your life. I want to stay grateful. I want to never ever get complacent, but we do with human beings. So
Yeah.
I surround myself with people that validate me and vice versa and approve me, but will call me on my BS. Somebody asked the other day in a podcast, what have you got that nobody else has got? Or very few people have. And I said, I have enough. I have enough. And the way you have enough is it's a totally different trip when the stress is gone, when trying to prove yourself to people, all that's gone. But to get up in the morning and sit on my front porch and listen to the birds chirp and my two little dogs running around like crazy, I'm a success here. I have my family around me. I brought Sandra, my sister, to the US about 12 months ago to open the restaurant. I have family here today because that's a big thing. I don't know about you, but there was also something missing for the last 19 years for me over here. This is a lifelong journey. My sister came over here to lived in my house for about 7 months. It was complete. I don't
That is
need anything.
beautiful. I love this. Another lesson that we learned right now. We all need to move the needle towards the direction where you feel this is it. You're feeling content. You're not running after money, fame, time. Like the time that you get back in life is the most important. And age should not be a factor. We are all chasing something in our life, but we should have a goal. And that goal should come with a deadline and a timeline. And it's very important that you do that for yourself, for your sanity, for your kids, and for whoever you love. What's your advice for family members who want to support someone struggling with addiction but don't know how to break through their denial or their defenses?
Dialogue is the first thing I say. Start dialogue with your son or your daughter or friends that you care for, because I know when the 9,000 patients that I've had is we think we're on our own. We think we're doing something bad. We're stuck in our addiction. We don't know a way out and we're going to die. And listen, moms and dads, if you think your kid is taking drugs and he's at school and he's looking worse and worse, get in his bedroom when he goes to school and search his freaking bedroom. Oh, well, I can't intrude on his privacy. Well, in that case, you'll find him dead. How much privacy is in that? Go in and
Yeah.
find out what the hell's going on and start dialogue straight away. Everybody can recover. The most genius people in the world right now used to suffer from some kind of trauma or addiction. People say your alcoholism must have been so terrible. It was my greatest asset. It's one of the best things that ever happened to me. Now, at the time, I didn't know, but you have to realize that whatever you're going through, guys, again, if you're a mom sat in a one-bedroom apartment, the husband's left, he's told you you'll be no good, you never amount to anything. First of all, he's a liar, first of all. And secondly, this is temporary. You're just being put through some teachings that you need to go on and help the world with. That's all it is. Don't take any crap of anybody and stay true to the cause, which is you and your family. Defend your family. When I look back, before I was homeless, I was pretty wealthy. I used to buy a brand new Mercedes every year. I used to take my daughters to school and they had brand new on everything. I said to my daughter, wasn't it great that I provided everything for you? And this is what she said to me. She said, Dad, I don't remember all the things. I just remember that you were never there.
Hmm.
Excuse me. I just remember you were never there. And that was another huge life lesson is
Right.
kids don't care what car you drive. Kids don't care if you buy a Mercedes and the next door neighbor can't afford it. What they care is that time with them, playing around, doing stupid things, laughing, joking. Sort of all the stuff I bought for them. They were very young. My eldest daughter remembers of me taking to the park and us both rolling down the hill and laughing and joking. That's what she remembered. So again, guys, go and earn money, go and be an entrepreneur, build empires, but just don't forget the most important thing in the world, and that your loved ones around you, especially if you're married, the spouse or children, that's your unit. You've got to do whatever you've got to do to protect that unit, build that unit. And like I said, money's not going to make that unit close. What's going to make that unit close is mum and dad being fun. We did research. Kids grow up happier and more stress free when two adults are divorced but happy than two adults staying together that's miserable. So there's always a way out. Me and my wife dance in the bathroom every day. She's 62, I'm 63. You must be crazy. No, we're dancing, we're throwing stuff at each other. We have fun. I really don't care what you think of me. Them days have gone. You know, I've done the work. I'm here. I'm loud. I'm very obnoxious. I'm very aggressive when it comes to healing people. I have a big mouth. I curse a lot sometimes when I want to get a point over, but I'm here. And listen to this, entrepreneurs. Nobody who's doing as good as you or better will ever negatively comment about you. You just won't. So there's two kinds of people in this world: the people that love you for who you are, and the people that want to be you. Remember,
So amazing. That was amazing. There's two things I want to tell the audience that the path to recovery is never straight. It's messy, it's painful, but ultimately, it could be the most rewarding journey you'll ever take, or you will help somebody in your family take. And the second, what Dr. Kelly just mentioned, is that time if you have kids in your life, or your adults, or your parents, or anybody around you. I was talking to somebody about the mom guilt yesterday, and she said, "How much time do you spend with your kids?" And I said, "A lot. They see me when they go to school. They see me when they come back from school. I play and do silly things with them before they go to bed. I teach them the power of gratitude." And she said, "That's good, and that is enough." And as a mom, we always think it's not enough. And like you said, my kids don't remember the new toys we bought for them, but they do remember the funny thing I did with them, the funny dance that I did with them. So never forget that. Dr. Kelly, this was so inspirational. While we are wrapping this episode, I have a quick, quirky rapid fire round, which I'm sure you're going to enjoy. So are you ready? Okay. First question. What's the biggest myth about addiction recovery?
you're going to die and you can't recover.
What's a personal mantra you live by?
Believe.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received in recovery?
What a great question. I'm sat on a park bench outside school. It was finished. I'm waiting for the bus. An old man was sat down beside. Well, I say old man. He was probably 40s, 50s. And he turned around and he said, "Son," he said, "let me tell you one thing. He said, always do everything that comes to you, never turn anything down, and have fun. And that has been proven so important in what I do.
Wow, you never know who you meet somebody. The biggest myth about addiction that you'd like to debunk.
It's not about the alcohol or drugs, guys.
If you could go back in time and speak to your younger self, what would you say?
Despite everything going on, you're going to be all right.
In your life today, vodka or coffee?
Coffee.
I think we all knew that answer. But Dr. Robb Kelly, thank you so much. Your journey from the streets to sobriety is a testament to the power of resilience, faith, and hard work. Your wisdom on addiction and recovery is not only transformative, but essential for anyone struggling or supporting someone who is. To our listeners, remember recovery is possible and all starts with taking that little first step. If you're battling addiction, know there's hope. Know there's people like Dr. Kelly you can reach out to. And there's proof that a new chapter is possible. Stay tuned for more episodes on In the Making, where every story inspires and every step forward counts. Don't forget to share, follow, and subscribe. And if you need any information of Dr. Robb Kelly, it's going to be at the end of the podcast episode. With that, I'll see you next week. Thank you.